All right. Good afternoon. This is David from the Happening Travel Club. Thank you for joining us on our next stop to adventure. Today we're going to be discussing our Savannah St. Patrick's Day in Georgia's Golden Isles trip. It's one of my favorite trips we do, especially for a shorter one. The picture in my background I actually personally took at the Christ Episcopal Church in St. Simon's Island when I went on this trip 2 years ago, or last year rather. It's a fantastic, short but exciting trip, and we're happy to share it with you today. As you are likely aware, we are a nonprofit charity organization. All of our trips are meant to be educational or cultural in experience, and we are happy to have a fantastic one of our volunteers with us, Al. He is an extremely experienced traveler who has been around the world more times than most people, and he's going to help go through the itinerary and the details of the trip while I run the technical side of things. At the end, we will have the ability for you to ask questions if you're watching us live. If you are in YouTube, you can just type out your questions in the chat. If you're in the Google meeting with us, you can unmute by clicking the red microphone button, or there is a little text box in the bottom right you can click to type out any questions you have during the meeting. And then with that, Al, I'm going to let you take over. So thank you so much.
Thank you, David. Excited to do this. I should begin by saying David and I are talking about this trip, and we're doing this live. So the conversation between David and I is a live conversation. The vast majority of people that watch this, thousands will watch this presentation, but they'll do it on demand, and you'll be able to see it at Happening Travel Club on the main page for this trip in 2027. And also you can watch it in YouTube. And so we're doing this video for those that want to learn more about the trip through the year as the year goes on. And so that's the purpose of this meeting. David and I talking about what we're doing. Just briefly, as David said, I have a lot of experience escorting. I have escorted to more than 100 countries and have been to more than 100. I've been to exactly 148 countries. I went to Savannah and the Golden Isles for the first time in 1982 when I was in college at the University of Central Florida in Orlando, and I fell in love with both the historic district in Savannah and especially the Millionaires District at Jekyll Island, Georgia, just the island south of David's picture behind him. There is so much history relatively close to us in the villages and in Central Florida, and this trip is a spectacular opportunity in the spring to enjoy the flowers, the azaleas, and the unique history of the Golden Isles, and of course, the historic district in Savannah that is populated, and the signature event of this trip is the St. Patrick's Day Parade, and I'm going to tell you all about that. So very exciting to tell you about this relatively short 4-day motor coach trip. This year, the Travel Club asked me to host the trip, and I did, and this trip sold out very early. And the Travel Club made the decision not to go to a second bus. 52 guests did this trip, and I was escort. And quite amazing. I'm going to tell you about some of the details of what I've done with that trip, and also some of the changes that the Travel Club has made for 2027, which are also quite good. So for all of you, with those that are with us live right now, but especially those that'll be watching this on demand, this is a live presentation that David and I are going to talk about. So first, the name of the trip, of course, is Savannah's St. Patrick's Day Parade and Georgia's Golden Isles. It's March 15 to 18, 2027. It centers around March 17th. All of us know what March 17th is. That is St. Patrick's Day. But unlike places in Florida that celebrate St. Patrick's Day, many places around the country and really all over the world does, Savannah takes it seriously. And that is because it doesn't seem natural that such a historic 17th century city in the South would take St. Patrick's Day so seriously. It is the second largest St. Patrick's celebration in the United States, only behind New York City. And Savannah is an absolute natural for celebrating the St. Patrick's Day parade because of the very significant number of British that came to the colony of Georgia when General Oglethorpe founded it for the royal crown of Britain. And as a result, a very significant number of English, but especially Scottish, settled in southeastern Georgia and specifically in Savannah. They laid their roots there. The Revolution came, and many, many did not leave. The Civil War came, General Sherman presenting Savannah to President Lincoln Christmas Eve, 1864, and the Scottish and the British did not leave. And so the roots in Savannah are very Irish, Scottish, and English. And there's kind of a meshing, a blurring of British and Irish, and that's what's so important in Savannah in terms of its history and why St. Patrick's is so good. The other thing before we get into the details of the trip that I would tell you is I love this itinerary and think it's quite spectacular because of the combinations of things that you do. You do not want to stay in Savannah over St. Patrick's Day. It is the largest 3-day period in Savannah for the entire year. As a result, you pay a very significant amount of money to stay in Savannah. And I also don't think for a vacation multi-day experience, it's the best time to be in Savannah. And that is because so many of the roads are closed and it is very crowded. And so you don't have the same kind of experiences other times of the year. Spring is very good for azalea, but not St. Patrick's time. The fall, Thanksgiving and Christmas is very good for Savannah, and you don't have the kind of problems that you have with St. Patrick's Day. March 17th. So as a result, the Travel Club has created this very interesting itinerary that goes to the Golden Isles. The Golden Isles is a standalone destination worthy of visiting all by itself. The history of the Jekyll Island Club. At Jekyll Island, the wealthiest people in the world were staying at Jekyll Island, coming down by train in the 1880s, 1890s to about right prior to the Great Depression in 1929. St. Simon's Island, Sea Island, and Brunswick, Georgia. Lots of history there. The big advantage of staying in the Golden Isles is you're under 1 hour from the parade. And so it's really convenient to come to Savannah, do the historic district, have a very nice lunch, do the parade in Savannah for St. Patrick's, but stay in the Golden Isles. So you get multiple destinations: St. Simon's, Jekyll Island, Savannah, and St. Augustine, all in this itinerary. So that's what you're going to do, March 15 to 18, 2027. Next, David. Now, it's 4 days. The 4-day itinerary is $599. It includes all government taxes and fees, just approximately $150 a day. So it's very good value for what's included in this itinerary, and some itinerary improvements this year, which makes it very nice. Next. Of course, the trip is escorted. 2 St. Patrick's Days ago, years ago, David was an escort. Last year, or actually this year for St. Patrick's, I escorted the trip. It is fully escorted. Very important because there's some intricate details in being able to do this trip. Going into Savannah's historic district, for example, is very complicated for the escort, not for the members of the Travel Club. And so the escorting portion of it, and when we go through the itinerary, you'll see why you do not want to drive this destination. Very valuable for it to be escorted. Next. It includes first-class hotel accommodations in the Golden Isles. It includes 3-star hotel, Best Western Plus, very good. This is an upgrade from the hotel accommodations. We stayed in a good hotel this year in the standard 3-star, been upgraded this year to the Best Western Plus. This is the highest rated 3-star hotel in the Golden Isles. Or you can upgrade if you would like to the Marriott Town Place Suites. And the two hotels are under 5 minutes apart from each other. So they're very convenient, regardless of what you would like to do. If you would like to upgrade to the 4-star hotel, it's just $99 to do that. So whatever your choice is, Best Western Plus or the Marriott, you can do either on this motor coach tour. And it's a very interesting thing that the travel club is doing to allow you to pick your accommodation instead of mandating where you stay. Next. Comprehensive sightseeing is included. Your sightseeing in Savannah is included. Your sightseeing in Jekyll Island is included, and your sightseeing in St. Simon's Island is included. And then on day 4, you're going to visit St. Augustine, and you're also going to visit with the comprehensive there and lunch included. So all 4 days sightseeing is included in your 4-day escorted tour. Next. Of course, transportation is included. The Happening Travel Club uses workmen's transportation from the villages and also lamers transportation. And private pickup, it hasn't been publicly announced yet, but private pickup is coming for Happening Travel Club members in the villages, where you'll be able to park your car and leave your car while you're traveling on the trip. By this departure, March of 2027, you'll be able to do that. As example, I'm leaving in just a couple of weeks for the American 250 to Washington and Williamsburg. That trip is also completely sold out with 52 guests, and we're using lamers and lamers parking facilities. So all of the guests for that 8-day tour will be able to leave their cars. And that is coming for many of the departures, lamers, and other locations in the villages in new partnerships that are coming. But motor coach transportation included in the trip. Next. This is really unique. For this trip, there will be at least 2 socials. And these socials are an invitation only for passengers, members that are on the trip. And between now and next March, very unique for the Happening Travel Club in the villages and the greater villages area, there will be 2 socials. These are very important and very desirable, even for a short trip like this of 4 days. After all, the travel club does trips that are 21 days in length. This is just a 4-day trip. But in this instance, you will be able to come and participate in the social. You'll meet the escort of the trip. And you will also meet other guests, other members that are on the trip. And it's specifically designed as a meet and greet for you to be able to do that. I have participated in a number of these now, and it constantly surprises me, people that are on trips and they don't realize, oh, you're on the next street from me, and we've never met before, and we're meeting at a social event on a trip that we're going on with the Happening Travel Club. There'll be at least 2 of these, and it is a great opportunity to get to know your escort and get to know the other guests. Very intentioned at this social. You introduce yourself, the villages or where you live, it might not be in the villages, and you're able to meet other members on the trip. Very valuable. It's proof positive from my standpoint. I'm a volunteer for David and the rest of the team at the Happening Travel Club. It is a nonprofit organization. It's not a travel agency. It's not a travel agency. And this is one of the great examples of that. We have very good travel agencies here in the villages. Many do an outstanding job, but this is not the kind of thing that you would see them do. Having socials before the trip. It is because it's a nonprofit organization where education and the educational travel experience is the primary motivation. It's not a revenue business per se. And as a result, you are able to do things like this. Next. Of course, membership to participate in this trip, you must be a member. As of January 1st, only members are allowed on trips from the Happening Travel Club. And that is because many of the grant funders of the educational programs that Happening Travel Club does requires private membership. It can't be available to the public, and it follows the model of Costco and Sam's Club. You must be a member of the travel club to be able to participate in the trip. It's a $24 annual membership fee. It gets you lots of benefits. The top of the list is access to the trip at all. You cannot participate in the trip if you're not a member of the club. And then second, just recently, the announcement that the Happening Travel Club has an insider rewards program where most of the major cruise lines have said we will reward members of the Happening Travel Club by providing benefits, cruises and tours of $5 of every $100 that you spend. So essentially 5%. And that is an exclusive benefit for members of the club. That only applies to individual experiences, not the group event, because the group travel is the principal mechanism. But if you take a cruise or you take a tour to Europe or whatever it might be, you automatically get this benefit to you, which is a great new benefit of being a member of the Happening Travel Club. Next. So now let's talk about the itinerary. Lots of history here. For some of you that may have been with me, I'm born in Florida. I generally consider myself an expert on the major destinations and the history of travel in Florida. I understand that trains basically helped open Florida. On the West Coast, the plant, Henry Plant's train to Tampa, and the Henry Plant Hotel in Tampa, downtown, which is now the University of Tampa. And on the East Coast, of course, Henry Flagler and the East Coast Railway all the way down the coast. The 3 hotels in St. Augustine were train hotels, the Breakers in Palm Beach, the Biltmore in Coral Gables, and then the Oversea Highway all the way to Key West. Flagler opened Florida to the wealthy. Before either one of those things happened, there was Jekyll Island and the Golden Isles. And the richest people in the world, the Rockefellers, the Vanderbilts, etc., the Gettys, came to Jekyll Island on a train as far as Brunswick, and they would stay for the winter. They, I always joke, were the first people that actually came to the villages also. What were we? We were snowbirds. And these millionaires, which really in today's money, they were billionaires, came to the Golden Isles. And that's what developed the Golden Isles. You're staying there for 4 days and 3 nights doing all of the major sightseeing. On the first day, you're going up to the Golden Isles, an easy trip. We're there right after lunch. In Jekyll Island, and then we tour Jekyll Island. The picture that you're seeing in the upper right is the Millionaires Club. Unlike Newport, Rhode Island, for example, these same millionaires who were really billionaires by today's money, they built big, elaborate mansions in Newport. In Jekyll, they did not, because the agreement was to have a club and no one stand out separately. So as a result, the cottages, which can be quite elaborate at Jekyll Island, had no kitchens because you had to take all of your meals in this building that you're seeing here, which was a club, the main dining room, the card room, tennis, the pools, etc. This is right on the intercoastal from the mainland in Brunswick to Jekyll Island. And that's how this club developed. All were equal. Now, that's an unusual thing when you get this many egos in the same place at the same time, but they accomplished it in the 1880s through about 1929. And you will do sightseeing here. Jekyll Island is fascinating because about 70% of the entire island is owned by the people of Georgia. And so you must follow the rules of living on Jekyll. There is private property. There are public restaurants and stores and shopping, etc., and so on, but all principally managed by the state of Georgia, including the Jekyll Island Club. And you'll do sightseeing here. Very, very famous, a beautiful experience, and you take the sightseeing tour at Jekyll. You will then check into your hotel on day one, and we will be there for 3 nights. Then next, on day 2, we're going to do the northern of the Golden Isles, which is St. Simon's. And St. Simon's has among the most important history, especially for Florida, in the United States. This is pre-revolutionary, not pre-Civil War. This is pre-revolutionary. This has where the fortification of Fort Frederica by the English under King George, built by General Oglethorpe, who founded Savannah, built all of those beautiful squares in Savannah. Fort Frederica was the most important location in the colony of Georgia. Why was Fort Frederica so important? Why was St. Simon's so important? It was the beachhead of the British Empire of the New World against who? The Spanish. Who was the adversary of Fort Frederica? Well, all of you have probably been there. St. Augustine and the famous fort there. In the 17th century, the Spanish, with 17 galleon ships, attacked St. Simon's Island and trying to get to Fort Frederica to destroy it. And the Battle of Bloody Marsh took place on this island, and it forever decided whether we were going to speak English or we were going to speak Spanish. And you learn all about the history of this critical moment in American history. In Central America, Mexico, and principally most of South America, what language do they speak today? Spanish. What language do we speak in most of North America? English. And it was because of the Battle of Bloody Marsh on St. Simon's that determined the history for the English or the Spanish. And this was long before we got to the American Revolution of the fight of the state of Georgia and the importance of what later happened in the Golden Isles and in Savannah and Charleston, etc. And long before the millionaires, which were really billionaires, came to Jekyll Island. So there's the history of the Golden Isles kind of in a nutshell. Pre-revolutionary, Spanish versus the English, then the Civil War, then the millionaires. And that's why the Golden Isles is so beautiful and so full of history. And you learn all about that. Beautiful. The lighthouse that you see there is in the village of St. Simon's. Lovely shops, great places to eat. And David already told you he has this beautiful picture behind him at Christ Church. And Christ Church is one of the most historic churches in America on St. Simon's Island, directly adjacent to Fort Frederica, the English fort that you will also visit on this day. And Christ Church was the church that soldiers and other tradesmen that were there for the royal, the crown, the king, where they worshiped. And this church has been in continual operation for nearly 300 years. Quite an amazing day 2 on St. Simon's, and completely different than Jekyll, completely different than Jekyll Island, Georgia, but part of the Golden Isles. Then on day 3 is the real flagship of our visit, and that is to go to Savannah. I sigh first. As David knows, he did the trip a little differently than the planned trip this year. Going to Savannah for the St. Patrick's Day parade is an arduous experience for the driver and the escort, but not the members. First off, the Savannah Historic District is closed to vehicular transportation. Buses can't go to the St. Patrick's Day parade. What you must do is you go to malls. The largest one is about 7 miles outside of the historic district, you must park, and then you get on a shuttle. You pay for it, and you shuttle into the historic district. And that is because Savannah's historic district is so crowded because of this festival event, they essentially close it. If you're on most tours and they're not really as knowledgeable as they should be, that's what you're doing. But I am very happy to say that is not what you will do today on this trip. What we do at the Happening Travel Club is we travel to Hutchinson Island, and it is a small barrier island on the Savannah River. Right across the Savannah River is the downtown historic River Street and Bay Streets of Savannah. And on the other side of Hutchinson Island is South Carolina. It's right on the border. We will actually travel across the bridge and across the Savannah River to Hutchinson Island. And the reason we do that is there's ample parking. And when you come off the coach, you will see River Street in the historic district of Savannah. You will board what is called the Savannah Bells, and it is a ferry, and you will ferry across Savannah, the Savannah River. And when you arrive at River Street, you are going to be right adjacent to where the parade is. We trick the transportation of not using the out of historic district shuttles that come into the historic district because you have to wait, you have to pay, you have to board, you ride for 7 miles, you come off, depending on where the location is for the shuttle in 2027, then you have to walk to the parade. We eliminate all of that. You will unload, you will walk within 3 minutes of boarding the Savannah Belle, you'll cross the river, and then just minutes to walk to the parade itself. So a great feature for the parade. The other thing The other thing that has been changed for 2027, you have reserved seats. All of our 52 guests of members of the travel club, you have reserved seats. This is very important in Savannah for this parade because you don't want to fight with crowd and curb access and et cetera and so on and so on. So reserve seats were done. This program has been modified for 2027, where on Bay Street, which is the main street in the historic district, this is the main street that the parade will run on. It runs on other streets also, but the main street the parade is on Bay Street. And this year, the park adjacent to Bay Street, the travel club has seating on Bay Street and will have brunch. And think of it kind of like an early in the morning to midday opportunity for food and drink, including some proofed drinks. I won't say full bar, but it includes lots of special opportunities for beverages and brunch. So in the same location of your reserved seats, the Happening Travel Club will send a team of people up from Florida that will, in addition to your seats, add this brunch and the opportunity for seating for food and beverage. And it turns the parade into a social event for the members. And this is a private experience that has been planned for 2027. One time before, I've been to the parade a number of times. The other alternative to this is restaurants. And many of the restaurants in Savannah do private events themselves where the parade passes and they'll do a breakfast and lunch. It's lovely, but it's expensive. I have seen in 2026, I looked at several of them and made recommendations to the travel club where the day is $200 for the tickets to watch the parade, have a seat, have the food and beverages included. The travel club looked at those alternatives carefully and made the decision, wait, we're going to coordinate at the Bay Street Park where the parade is in the main historic district. This park that the parade passes is on Bay Street and River Street. You sit right in the middle of it. So it's a great location, and it is a wonderful way to do this parade. And all of the times that I have been, I don't know because the travel club hasn't invited me yet for 2027, but of all of the times of seeing this parade, I am very confident that 2027 will be the best that I've ever seen the experience in value. So you do that. Now, when the parade finishes, the afternoon is spent in the historic district. You can't do that in the morning, obviously. This is a morning parade. It passes St. Patrick's. Many of the major streets passes the Pirate's House, famous restaurant, then turns onto Bay Street, where you will be for the parade, and then it turns on Bull Street, which is the most famous of the streets that go directly through the squares of the historic district. You can't really do anything in the historic district until the parade finishes, which is around lunch-ish time. And then the travel club coordinates the historic district, where you have more time and more leisurely time to do the historic district. Because what happens is everyone pours into the historic district for the parade, and the parade ends and everyone pours out of the historic district. They reboard that transportation, because there's no transportation unless you've ridden the shuttles in from the different malls to get in the historic district. And the reason why they're pouring out of the historic district is because they want to get to their car, and they know they're competing with thousands and thousands of people to get out of the historic district. And the reason they're doing that is because then they're going to come back later in the evening and just tie on a major party for St. Patrick's Day. We won't be doing that. We're going back to the Jekyll Island to the Golden Isles, and a very pleasant evening experience in the Golden Isles. But in the afternoon, that's when we will enjoy the historic district after the parade. And the escort will be able to help you with all kinds of things that you'll want to do, including a very nice lunch reservation. Lunch is on your own, but the escort will help you with great reservations for lunch on St. Patrick's Day. This is our day up to Savannah and then back to the Golden Isles. Now, it's hard, if you haven't ever done this, to understand the great value of this experience. I can only tell you from my experience, this is absolutely the most outstanding way to do Savannah for St. Patrick's Day. The historic district and the stay in the Golden Isles. Easily, you could spend $400 a night, easily, at a basic hotel in the historic district. And it's just, there are better times to do that. This is the right experience on day 3. Next, on day 4, we travel to the villages. It doesn't indicate this here, but we go to St. Augustine, and we'll have St. George Street in St. Augustine. The escort will help you with lunch reservations in St. Augustine, where you can make reservations because you'll have a good window time to make reservations, or you can wander and do on your own whatever catches your fancy as you do it. So either choice is king in travel, in my opinion, for group travel. So you can make reservations, or you can just wander and eat wherever you would like. But we will do St. Augustine on day 4 before returning to the villages. Next. Reservations are $299. It's very easy. Final payment at 120 days prior. Only online reservations, no phone reservations. It's a very easy process. If you have your phone, if you're watching us on demand, I just remind everybody, when you're watching this was a live presentation. David's getting ready to talk with me in a moment. Anybody else that would like to ask any questions, that QR code that you see there with all of the squiggly lines, all you have to do is put your phone on it, your photos, like you're taking a photo. You just focus on that QR code. You will see, I think it's yellow, and it will show you that page that we're showing you there for Savannah St. Patrick's Parade. You just touch it and the page will come right up on your phone, or you can type in that address. If you don't even want to do all of that, all you have to do is go to happening.travel. That's it. And at the top of the page, it has a link of different kinds of trips, and one of them says special events and festivals. And all you have to do is touch that, and this trip will come right up. I highly encourage you to do that because it will give you every detail. I'm kind of giving you highlights of the program, but it'll give you every detail of every inclusion, everything that you want to know. Lots of great pictures of the trip and what to expect. Everything that you would like is on that page. And then it gives you a booking link where you can easily make the reservation 24 hours a day right online. Next. So that's it. It's a wonderful 4-day trip. Now, one of the things that I haven't said yet is you look over David's shoulder at Christchurch in St. Simon's Island. The flowers. You're there in wonderful springtime bloom. Azaleas, if you're in the villages, we have lots of magnolias, but the magnolias here are very different than they are in the Golden Isles or in Savannah. In Savannah and the Golden Isles, the trees are much bigger. The number of blooms are much larger. It is not uncommon to see a magnolia tree that is almost completely white. There are so many blooms, and the azaleas, of course, which is what you're seeing over David's.
That's actually camellia. It's hard to tell in the picture, but I love camellias too.
Okay.
Camellias and azaleas are both in the same family. It's just a different bloom. But yeah, I loved this in the graveyard of the Christ Church. It was absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if anybody has any questions, now's a great time. If you are, again, watching live on YouTube, you can type in the questions. If you are here in the Google Meet, you can just click on the red microphone to unmute yourself and ask. If you're watching this afterwards, feel free to email us at info@happening.travel, or, of course, our phone number's on the website, and you can also get a lot of the information on the page for the trip itself. Did anybody have any questions about the trip? No? Well, in that case, everybody, I hope you have a great afternoon, and we'll see you on our next stop to adventure as we discuss one of our trips or on one of our amazing trips themselves. Thank you so much.